Hello everyone and welcome to Mission Report. I'm your host, Tyler Nelson. At this time, as we get started, I would like to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to go back and listen to our introduction video. Take a minute there to introduce myself and to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing here with Mission Report. But just to give you a little idea as we jump into this, we'll be talking to returned missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints about just about everything, about what it was like to serve a mission, about lessons that these returned missionaries have learned, what's the food like all over the world, and they're even going to give a little bit of advice to preparing missionaries. So today, as we get started, we'll be starting with somebody who served right here in Provo, Utah, in the Provo, Utah mission. And as we go through this, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're uplifted, and maybe you even learn something. So here is the first interview and first episode of Mission Report. Okay, let's get started then. Today I'm here with Elijah Tauai, and we'll just jump right into it. Elijah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Elijah Tauai. I'm from Blue Springs, Missouri, it's in the greater Kansas City area. Kind of moved around a lot growing up, but that's where I call home. And what else to say? I mean, I go to school at BYU. I'm studying psychology, and I'm married to Rachel. She's awesome. She's from Arizona, and we've been married for almost 2 years now. And yeah, I served in the Utah Provo mission. So
cool. Let's jump right into the first question then. So start at the beginning. Why did you choose to serve a mission?
So growing up, I wasn't really super excited to go on a mission. You know, whenever I went to church, I didn't really pay attention and didn't really think about it throughout the week, and just didn't really want to go. But eventually I moved to Missouri, and I started hanging out with some kids in my ward. And as I did that, I started to take the gospel more seriously. And when I started taking the gospel more seriously, I just realized that it made me really happy. I started to get a testimony of my own. And that's really what made me want to serve, was just actually starting to live the gospel and seeing kind of the difference between when I didn't care about the gospel and when I did. So that's what really got me to go on a mission.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so when you did decide to serve a mission, you put in your mission papers, and then you got your call. What did you think when you got your call?
Right. So, I mean, getting called to the Utah Provo mission, it's pretty interesting. So I thought I was going foreign. At least I wanted to. I think a lot of people do. Or at least, go somewhere that sounds interesting. Mm-hmm. So I was just convinced. I thought I was going to go to Australia for some reason. I had heard like a song about Australia on the radio, and I thought, okay, that's where I'm going to go, Australia. But I get my call, I open it, and it says Utah Provo Mission. And on the inside, I was super disappointed. But on the outside, I was acting super happy. Then everybody who had come to watch me open my call had left, and I just went and laid face down on the couch and was like, oh, Provo. And I got called Spanish speaking, which was cool, but I didn't think that I would, speak Spanish here, which I was wrong about. There's a lot of Hispanics here, but yeah, so it was disappointing to get the call. But after serving in the mission, it was the best mission for me. So
cool. I kind of want to circle back around to that feeling too a little bit later. Kind of how you felt, because there's kind of a weird stigma about serving Utah.
Yeah, of course.
With you can get a lot of good things out of any mission.
Of course, yeah.
Cool. So, did you come to the Provo MTC?
Yeah, Provo MTC. I was actually the only Spanish missionary in my group that went to the Provo MTC instead of the Mexico MTC. So, yeah.
So what was the MTC like for you?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed being there. I really enjoyed the people in my district. They were all super awesome. But it was also difficult in the fact that I felt like it was the first time that I really came into question if I really believed, that the gospel was true. because the teachers start telling you like, hey, you need to know this, you need to be able to testify of this. And so I started being like, do I know this? Like, can I testify this? So it actually was pretty difficult for like probably the middle 4 weeks that I was there of the 6, just because I was really struggling with that. But overall, great experience. I actually like the food.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the orange juice. I don't know, people say always don't drink the orange juice, but I tried it and I was okay. So
yeah. I feel like that's the food at the MTC always gets it mixed. Some
Yeah.
people love it, some people don't love it.
Well, at the Provo MTC, you also get creamery ice cream on Wednesdays, so
That's true.
that is a big blessing.
Nothing beats Grand Canyon.
No, yeah.
For anybody listening, if you haven't
Seriously.
tried. Cool. So then what was it like, so you served Spanish speaking, what was it like starting to learn Spanish in the MTC and then as you got out into the field?
So, I'd say the MTC is pretty similar to, for me anyways, to like kind of like your Spanish classes that you take in school. You obviously learn more in the MTC, but I mean, depending on how disciplined you are, you don't really use it all the time. So I feel like I got out of the MTC with kind of just like some basic words and sentences. But definitely in the field, I got lucky. I was trained by a guy from Mexico. So he helped me a lot, and really I just found that as we were teaching lessons and trying to speak every day, that the language actually came pretty quickly, which I was surprised being in Provo. But I had some really good trainers that helped me to learn pretty quick. So,
Are there a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Provo?
oh yeah, there's tons. So serving my mission in Provo, I always had a Spanish ward or branch in all of my areas. So I was never in just like a straight English area. And just like in the city of Provo alone, there's 9 different Spanish wards.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just Provo, and then there's obviously other areas of the mission where there's more. So
That's cool.
yeah, lots of opportunities to speak.
And that's kind of what it comes down to, use it, learn it.
Right, yeah. As long as you're using it, no matter where you are, you can learn a new language.
So what was, maybe the MTC, what was your first week in the field like?
So, my first area was in Santa Quin, Utah. And I guess coming out of the MTC, I was pretty like, I don't know, especially a lot towards the beginning of my mission, I was pretty like, I'm going to follow all the rules, I'm going to work as hard as I can, and like, I'm not going to give any excuses. So I remember like on transfers, my trainer was like, hey, let's go to the store, let's go buy you some groceries for the week. And I was like, no, it's fine, let's just go work, you know. So I actually didn't like have food for my first week. I was just eating my trainer's food, which he didn't have a ton either, so we weren't eating super well that first week.
Eating beans by the end of the week.
Right, yeah, we were eating, I mean, we had good dinners from the members, but lunch and breakfast were pretty bare. But it was kind of tough, you know, just getting out there and being able to talk to people. I feel like that was my main struggle, not just in the first week, but early on, was having the confidence to like walk up to a stranger and start telling them about the gospel. So that was pretty difficult. And just like the rigorous schedule of getting up, studying, and then going outside and working all day was tough. But like I said, I had a great trainer who was super patient with me, and he helped me a ton.
So what was it like? I guess, did you go to any college before you went on your mission?
No, so I went on my mission straight out of high school.
Straight out of high school. So you never had a roommate. So what was it like? What was it like adjusting to having a companion?
Man, I honestly think that I was like the worst guy to train, because yeah, I don't know, I was pretty prideful coming out, you know, and living with someone. It was tough for me just to be in like kind of a subordinate position, you know, because you got your trainer and then you're kind of like the guy who's supposed to just, you know, follow and learn. And I was pretty prideful. I would get mad about, you know, like small things, or small things would annoy me. So it was actually really hard for me to have a companion at first. I got frustrated a lot, got angry a lot, and luckily my trainers were super patient. Like, they never got mad back at me, which was, you know, probably why I was put with them. But yeah, it was tough for me to adjust to having a companion.
That's a complete, something you're not ever used to. You go from
Yeah.
Not having somebody 24/7.
Right. Yeah. I think the hardest part for me was that they were like in charge of me, and I had to like listen to what they said, and that for some reason just really bugged me at the beginning of my mission. So
I feel like that's kind of a common thing too, to have. You've got these missionaries that come out of the MTC, they're kind of, the feeling, you're kind of on fire, you're like, let's go, and then you kind of hit reality, and you don't want to hit reality.
And you kind of think you know a bunch of stuff, right? But, I mean, there's still way more for you to learn, so that's definitely was a wake-up call for me, so.
Did you have any advice on maybe dealing with, not necessarily a difficult companion, but any companion, because you're going to butt heads with every companion a little bit just because you're different people?
I would say, I don't know, what helped me with getting along with a companion was I had to learn to just let go of the little things, because really the majority of things that bugged me at the beginning of my mission were just little things that my companion would do that just annoyed me, that weren't important. So I would say the most important thing is just to kind of ignore the little things, realize they're not important, and obviously ask God for help with doing that, and just kind of follow the Spirit, because I had trouble with my early companions, but what helped me was just, learning to get over the stuff that's not important, so that, I think that's the best advice I could give.
Focus. All right, so let's talk about what was your average day like, mission mode?
All right. So obviously, in most missions, I know you wake up, you plan. I know during my mission it switched from like planning at night to planning in the morning. I know they used to do that, but now everybody's planning in the morning. So we would plan for 30 minutes. Actually, we would exercise before that, and then plan, and then we would go do our studies. You had personal study, companionship study, language study, eat lunch, and then from there we just tried to go out and find people. Depending on the area you're in, since I was a Spanish missionary, we actually could go and like knock doors, so we would go to like the local trailer park or a local place where we knew there was a lot of Spanish-speaking people, and we would just knock as many doors as we could, and obviously just go to whatever lessons we had. But definitely spent the majority of our day just out, either trying to find people or teaching lessons. So, yeah.
How were you, being in Utah, where everybody knows Church of Jesus Christ, how were you received when you would go and knock doors?
That is, if we knocked into somebody who spoke English and they weren't a member of the church, most of the time they obviously knew who we were and had already been contacted or knew people who were members of the church and usually weren't interested. There were times, I think it might be more common in Utah than in other places, where there's people who know tons about the church, who either were church members or have had just bad experiences with church members, who just have all this, hatred toward the church or like anti-information, and they'll just kind of bash you, which did happen, on a pretty frequent basis, just because I feel like the church is so prevalent here that people know all kinds of things about it that they don't agree with. So,
how did you try to handle those people when they were?
In general, early on in my mission, I feel like I wanted to argue, and be like, hey, like, no, that's not true, or like say stuff and come back at them. But as you learn and go along in your mission, talking to the people who don't want to learn about the gospel, I feel like is kind of a waste of a missionary's time. So we would always just kind of be like, okay, well, sorry you feel that way, and leave, because there wasn't really much we could do. But.
And kind of going off that note, being in Utah where so many people know about the Church of Jesus Christ, what was the culture like from your standpoint? Like, how would you describe the culture?
The culture. Just like in general the culture, or like how people viewed missionaries, or like what do you mean?
Maybe like in general.
Okay.
Kind of overall. And that could be like all kinds of different cultures.
The culture, at least from like my perspective as a missionary, everybody was generally super nice. I mean, I feel like coming from, I've lived in a lot of different places around the country, and coming from those places to living in Utah, people are just super nice here, especially to missionaries. I mean, I'm sure that my view of how the culture is here is really different. And there are obviously like differences between church culture here and in other places. But generally, I feel like, I don't know how to answer that question. I feel like the culture is just, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. People were very helpful and nice to me and to my companions and everybody that I knew. So,
cool.
Yeah.
That works. How was the food?
Oh, well, food was great. I mean, we got fed every night, pretty much, being a missionary in Utah, and so we got to taste a lot of different foods. I didn't eat with, like, the English people as much, but, I mean, I got exposed to tons of different types of, like, Hispanic foods from Mexico, South America, Central America, just because we got to meet people from all those different countries. So I got to eat a lot of different foods and a lot of really good foods. And I can only think of maybe, like, one meal where I was like, okay, I don't really like this. But everything else, it was either at least like okay or really good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you have any like one dish that was a favorite or one type of food?
Yeah, so I didn't know that pupusas were a thing.
What are those?
Before my mission. But those are, it's like a tortilla, but it's stuffed on the inside of the tortilla. It has like cheese or meat and vegetables. And they're super good. You eat them with like pickled cabbage and like this little mix of pickled like cabbage and jalapenos and carrots, and it's just super good. Like, I didn't even know it existed before my mission, but it's like one of my favorite foods now. So
yeah, I've never heard of those. Sound good.
Yeah, there's actually a couple places here in Provo that you can go get them. So
I'll have to ask you where they are.
Yeah, try it out.
Go check them out. Cool. So now I wanted to see if there are any kind of like special experience that you had or experiences that you had on your mission that really stuck out to you that are really impactful.
Yeah, so one that really, probably one of the coolest experiences on my mission was I was serving up in Heber City during like Christmas time, and we were in the Spanish ward there, and one of the days I was just feeling pretty tired. It was like 4:30, so we had dinner in 30 minutes, and so we didn't, like, all of our things at that time had fallen through, so we just needed to find something to do. And I was feeling pretty tired, and I was just like, oh, let's just, I don't know, look up this random, like, person that hasn't been contacted by the missionaries in forever, in the area book, just kind of scroll through it and pick somebody, just so that we could go do something and go to dinner. And so I just landed on this random name of this woman named Dulce, and we decided to go visit her, and we went, and we knocked on the door, and some people answered, and we were like, oh, is this where Dulce lives? And they were like, no, she doesn't live here, she actually lives downstairs. So we go, open the fence, go around back, go downstairs, and we knock on her door, and she answers, and she just is like staring at us, and we're like trying to talk to her, but she's just looking at us, and then she just like puts her hand over her mouth and starts crying, just bawling. And we're both super confused because we don't know what's going on. And then she tells us, she's like, I literally just said a prayer, and she said, my whole family's Catholic. I know the church is true, but I don't know if I can join. Like, I didn't know if I had the strength to join. So I prayed and I asked God that if I should join this church, that He send me the missionaries. And she had said that prayer, and then not long after we had come and we knocked on her door. Yeah, and so unfortunately, she ended up speaking English better than she spoke Spanish. So she got taught by the English missionaries. But she did get baptized. Her children got baptized. And as far as I know, she's going strong in the church. So that was one of the most special experiences from my mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny that you kind of get to participate in the miracle.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, I mean, obviously we would have liked to teach her and, go through everything, but just to be there for that part was enough. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say to somebody who is preparing to serve mission right now?
I would say the most important thing, in my opinion, that you can do, that I wish I would have done better, is make sure that you have gotten your answer about whether... I mean, obviously, first you have to have a strong testimony of Jesus Christ. So you should pray to know that, He's your Savior and all that stuff. And then underneath that, I think it's really important to have prayed about the Book of Mormon or Joseph Smith, or have gotten some kind of testimony about one of those, either Book of Mormon or Joseph Smith. Because you're going to be teaching the restoration all the time. And you're going to need to be able to testify that by the Spirit that, the Book of Mormon is true, or that Joseph Smith was a prophet. So I would say that's probably, if I could give you one piece of advice while preparing for a mission, that would be it. Yeah.
And follow up to that question, now that you've served and been home a while, and maybe had some time to think a little bit more about it, what would you say, or maybe more than one thing too, what would you say makes a good missionary?
I would say the thing that makes a good missionary, I think, is just love. I think you just need to love God and love the work. And I think if you do that and you have that love, that everything else will fall into place. Like, you won't need to worry about being exactly obedient, because if you love God, like, you're already going to do that, So I think the biggest thing that you need to have as a missionary is just that love, and everything else, the hard work, the obedience, the Spirit, everything else will just come if you have that love. So, yeah.
And the last question I've got is, this is kind of a loaded question.
All right.
How has the mission affected your life?
I would say, first and foremost, it's grown my testimony of God, of Jesus Christ, of this church, which has put me on a path that I'm obviously happier. I live the gospel, I keep the commandments, and I think if I hadn't served a mission, I wouldn't have developed that love of the gospel, and I wouldn't be as happy, or I wouldn't be living as full of life as I would be, as I am now. So just, from a spiritual perspective, I think those are like the obvious benefits that you get if you serve a mission and you just do your best. In other ways, I, before the mission, was not able to really talk to people. I didn't really go out of my way to meet new people or anything, so serving a mission just helped me a lot socially to be able to meet new people and talk to them and stuff like that. And also put me kind of on the career path. It's the reason I'm studying psychology, is because of my mission and the different people that I met and the different situations they were in. So, yeah.
You do get to meet so many interesting people on your mission.
It's pretty crazy, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. Do you have any last thoughts to share before we finish up?
No. The Utah Provo mission is awesome. Just so everybody knows, you get free food. Members give you money on the streets. It's pretty crazy. Pretty cushy life for a missionary. So if you get called there, it's amazing.
And that concludes our first episode of Mission Report. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, do all those good things. Mission Report can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and you can even follow us on Instagram at Mission Report, missionreport.21. Also, I'll be taking questions and requests. Want me to interview somebody who served in a specific place? Have any questions about a mission that you want answered? Send me an email at missionreport.21@gmail.com. That's missionreport.21@gmail.com. Special thanks to everyone who participated in this podcast, to Elijah for letting me interview him, to Troy Giebel, our composer, and to everyone else who's helped get this podcast off the ground. See you next time.